I've seen that most human beings move through life as if wrapped in a thin mist, believing they are awake while their inner eyes remain closed. When I speak of awakening your soul, I am not referring to some mystical event reserved for a few. I am pointing to the most fundamental possibility within every human being. From the moment you are born, life is constantly calling you, yet most people are too entangled in their own thoughts to hear it. The tragedy is not that life withholds its truth, but that people become deaf to the very pulse that keeps them alive. If you simply pause for a moment and allow yourself to breathe without expectation, you may notice that life is already whispering its secrets. Many who hear these words often feel a faint stirring inside, as if something long forgotten is moving once again. If that happens to you, acknowledge it. Such moments are doorways, and if you wish, share what arises within you so others may reflect on their own experience. To awaken your soul is not about adopting new beliefs or rejecting old ones. It is about shifting from a life driven by accumulated memory to a life fueled by direct experience. Your personality, your opinions, your fears, and your likes and dislikes are all built from past impressions. Nothing wrong with that. It is a useful mechanism. But if you mistake this mechanism for who you are, you reduce yourself to a bundle of echoes. An awakened being is not someone who has gathered more information, but someone who has become free from the compulsive noise of memory. When you open your inner eyes, you begin to see life as it is, not as your mind distorts it. Even now, as you listen, notice if your mind tries to judge, categorize, or interpret my words. If you see this happening, simply recognize the habit. This recognition alone is a small awakening. If it feels valuable, you may express in the comments how the mind intrudes, so others can see that they are not alone in this struggle. There is a profound difference between being alive and truly living. Most people breathe, eat, talk, work, reproduce, and die without ever touching the tremendous possibility of being human. They keep themselves busy to avoid confronting their own inner emptiness. But awakening your soul requires that you stop running from yourself. If you sit still, not as a technique but as a willingness, you will gradually discover that the life within you is far larger than anything you have ever imagined. This realization does not come with fireworks. It comes with clarity. Life becomes transparent, as if a fog has been lifted. Suddenly, you notice the subtleties of existence, the delicate way each moment unfolds. If something within you resonates with this, let that resonance deepen instead of immediately seeking distraction. People often ask how to open their eyes to life. They imagine a dramatic transformation, a sudden enlightenment. But the process is simple, though not always easy. First, you must see that you are asleep. A sleeping person cannot force themselves awake by dreaming about wakefulness. You must recognize your current state. Observe how often you react without conscious choice, how your emotions rise and fall without your permission, how your thoughts repeat endlessly like a broken record. If you honestly acknowledge this, you have already taken a significant step. In fact, if you wish, you can reflect aloud by describing one repetitive pattern you have noticed in yourself. Such sharing can anchor your awareness. The soul, as I use the word, is not a separate entity within you. It is the core of your aliveness, the stillness from which every breath emerges. You do not awaken it. You awaken to it. The sun does not need your help to shine. You simply open the curtains. Opening your eyes to life means peeling away the layers of unconsciousness that obscure your perception. When you drop your compulsions even for a moment, you may sense a boundless presence within you. That presence is not personal, it is universal. It is the same presence that pulses in every creature, in every leaf and drop of water. When you touch it, you naturally feel a profound connection with existence. If such a moment ever happened to you, even briefly, you can mention it, and it may inspire others to look within themselves. Human beings suffer not because life is cruel, but because they do not know how to handle the tools of their own mind. A mind that should have been a magnificent instrument has become a source of torment simply because it runs without clarity. To awaken your soul, the first discipline is to create a little distance from your thought process. Try this. Close your eyes for a few seconds and see if you can observe a single thought as it arises without getting entangled in it. Do not push it away. Simply watch. If you manage to do this even once, you will notice a space between you and the thought. That space is the beginning of inner freedom. If you attempt this now, you may share what you noticed. Such reflections often deepen attention. As awareness expands, your perception shifts from the content of life to the essence of life. You stop obsessing over what is happening and begin to sense that it is happening. Everything becomes a doorway. The sound of the wind, the warmth of your hands, the beating of your heart, all ordinary sensations become extraordinary simply because you are present with them. The soul does not awaken through effort, it awakens through presence. When presence becomes your natural state, every moment becomes vibrant. Nothing is mundane. You may find yourself moved by simple things, not emotionally but existentially. If this ever occurs, consider expressing it, for such expressions help reinforce clarity in yourself and others. As you deepen this presence, you may notice that what you call your life is not truly yours. It is a temporary arrangement of elements that have existed long before you and will continue long after you. Your body is borrowed from the earth, your breath is borrowed from the atmosphere, and even your thoughts are borrowed from the vast pool of human memory. When this becomes clear, the rigid sense of individuality softens. You begin to experience yourself not as a separate being, but as a wave upon the vast ocean of existence. This does not diminish you, it liberates you. The weight of constantly proving yourself, defending your opinions, and sustaining your identity falls away. In this lightness, your inner eyes begin to open. If you feel a certain ease as you hear this, allow that ease to expand within you, and you may share how it shifts your perception, helping others observe their own inner openness. Awakening does not come through struggle. It comes through receptivity. You cannot force life to reveal itself, but you can prepare yourself to receive it. A flower does not bloom by pulling at its petals. It blooms because the conditions are right. Similarly, if you create the right atmosphere within yourself, quietude, clarity, and openness, your soul naturally stirs awake. Most people approach inner growth with the same aggression they use in the external world, but the inner world is not conquered. It is unveiled. When you stop fighting yourself, when you stop trying to be someone and simply allow yourself to be, the layers of illusion gently fall away. This is not a philosophy. It is an experience available to anyone willing to look inward. The greatest barrier to awakening is the belief that you already know. Knowledge, if it becomes a conclusion, blocks the possibility of perception. When you think you know what life is, you stop seeing it. This is why children perceive more vividly than adults. They have not yet settled into rigid conclusions. Their eyes are fresh, their minds open. To awaken your soul, you must recover this sense of childlike wonder, not by becoming naive, but by relinquishing the arrogance of certainty. When you recognize that you do not truly know the nature of your own existence, a natural curiosity arises. That curiosity is a doorway to awareness. If you allow yourself, you can mention in the comments one belief you have begun to question. Such inquiry often invites others to examine their own assumptions. When awareness sharpens, your emotions shift from being reactions to intentional expressions. Most people's emotions are like weather patterns, unpredictable and uncontrolled. But when you awaken, emotions become instruments rather than burdens. You experience joy without reason, compassion without effort, and love without possession. Love, in its purest form, is not a bond but a state of being. It is the fragrance of an awakened soul. In this state, you no longer seek love from others. You become a source of love. This does not mean you withdraw from relationships. It means you stop demanding and start giving. If this resonates, reflect briefly on a moment when love felt expansive rather than possessive. Sharing such experiences often encourages deeper connections. To open your eyes to life, you must learn to look without the lens of desire or fear. Desire distorts perception by showing you only what you want to see. Fear distorts perception by showing you only what you want to avoid. Both trap you in a narrow band of experience. But when you look at life without wanting or resisting, you see it in its full grandeur. The sky becomes vast again, the trees regain their aliveness, and even the quiet ticking of a clock reveals the wonder of time unfolding. Such perception is not a mystical trance, it is the natural clarity of an unclouded mind. If you ever find yourself noticing life with unusual clarity, consider articulating that moment. It may deepen your integration of it. As your vision clears, you recognize that suffering is not a punishment, but an invitation. Pain, whether physical or emotional, is a signal that you are out of alignment with life's natural flow. Instead of rejecting pain, observe it. Witness how it rises, peaks, and fades. In this observation, you will see that pain is not a permanent resident, but a temporary visitor. When you stop resisting, suffering dissolves into sensation, and sensation becomes information. Your soul does not awaken through pleasure alone, it awakens through your willingness to embrace every aspect of existence. When nothing within you is denied or resisted, everything becomes a teacher. If you feel inclined, mention one insight pain has offered you. Such sharing can transform your relationship with discomfort. The journey toward awakening is not linear. At times, you may feel profoundly clear, only to fall back into old patterns. This fluctuation is natural. Do not judge it. Every cycle of unconsciousness and awareness refines your perception. Awakening is not a destination, but a deepening of sensitivity, a widening of the lens through which you experience life. Over time, the moments of clarity become more frequent, and the periods of unconsciousness shorten. One day, without fanfare, you may realize that the fog that once clouded your life has lifted. You see, you sense, you understand, not intellectually, but existentially. You awaken not by rejecting the world, but by seeing through it. Everything you experience, pleasure, pain, success, failure, becomes material for your awareness. When life becomes your teacher instead of your adversary, awakening becomes inevitable. In this state, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. Your inner stability is not shaken by external chaos, because it is anchored in something deeper than thought, deeper than emotion, deeper than identity. It is anchored in the stillness that is the essence of your soul. If this evokes a sense of steadiness within you, acknowledge it. And if you wish, share how this steadiness influences your daily life. As this steadiness becomes more familiar, you begin to realize that clarity is not something you achieve, it is something you allow. The more you trust the natural intelligence of life, the more gracefully it moves through you. Most people try to control every aspect of their existence, believing that control brings security. But true security does not come from managing life. It comes from aligning with its fundamental rhythm. When you awaken to this rhythm, your actions become effortless, your decisions become intuitive, and your presence becomes impactful without intention. You do not have to assert yourself. Your very being speaks. If you sense even a hint of this effortless flow in your own life, you may express it, for articulating such moments often strengthens their presence within you. Awakening the soul also means dissolving the artificial walls you have built within yourself. These walls are made of fear, hurt, pride, and the constant need to protect your identity. When these structures begin to crumble, you may feel vulnerable, but that vulnerability is a doorway to authenticity. To live with an awakened soul is to live without pretense. You no longer hide behind roles or masks. You become transparent, not in the sense of revealing your secrets, but in the sense of having nothing to conceal or defend. This transparency brings a profound ease to your existence. It also invites others to soften their own defenses. If you have ever tasted a moment of this authenticity, consider reflecting on it, as your clarity might help someone else recognize their own barriers. The more awake you become, the more deeply you sense the impermanence of everything you hold dear. Instead of causing fear, this awareness brings gratitude. Each moment becomes precious precisely because it will never return. Every person you meet, every experience you encounter, becomes an opportunity to engage life fully. When you understand the fleeting nature of existence, attachment transforms into appreciation. Love becomes lighter, relationships become freer, and life becomes more expansive. Impermanence is not a threat. It is what makes life meaningful. If this understanding resonates with you, you may share how impermanence has shaped your appreciation of life. In the awakened state, even your struggles take on a different quality. Instead of being obstacles, they become catalysts. Every difficulty sharpens your awareness, every disappointment reveals a hidden expectation, and every conflict exposes an unconscious pattern. When you stop blaming external factors, you gain access to the profound intelligence embedded in each challenge. Life ceases to be something that happens to you and becomes something that evolves through you. This shift in perspective marks a significant milestone in awakening. If any challenge in your life has revealed an unexpected insight, your reflection may inspire someone to explore their own inner lessons. Awakening your soul does not mean withdrawing from the world. Rather, it transforms the way you engage with it. You begin to act from clarity instead of compulsion. You speak from understanding instead of reaction. You listen not to reply, but to perceive. Your presence becomes a source of stability for others, even if you are silent. When you move through the world with openness and awareness, you naturally uplift the spaces you enter. This is not because you are trying to change anything, but because your state of being influences everything around you. If you have ever noticed a shift in the atmosphere simply by becoming more conscious, you may choose to describe it, helping reinforce that subtle power within you. Eventually, the boundaries between the inner and outer worlds begin to dissolve. You no longer see life as something separate from you. Your soul does not awaken to the world, it awakens as the world. The trees, the wind, the people, the emotions, the challenges, everything becomes an expression of the same underlying presence. This unity is not an idea. It is a lived experience. In this state, you do not feel the need to search for meaning, because life itself becomes meaningful. You do not seek purpose, because being fully alive is purpose enough. And you do not seek awakening, because awakening becomes the natural fragrance of your existence. As this fragrance of awakening deepens, you begin to experience a quiet revolution within yourself. The chatter of the mind grows softer, not because you suppress it, but because it no longer holds the authority it once did. Thoughts continue to arise, but they pass through you like clouds across an open sky. You are no longer the storm. You are the expanse in which the storm appears. This shift from identification to observation is one of the most significant steps in awakening the soul. When you no longer cling to each thought as if it defines you, a vast inner freedom becomes possible. If you have ever glimpsed this freedom, even for a fleeting moment, reflecting on it may deepen your connection with that inner space. In this freedom, you begin to realize that your life does not need to be extraordinary in order for you to awaken. You do not need to escape your responsibilities, abandon your relationships, or renounce the world. Awakening happens exactly where you are. It happens while you wash dishes, walk to work, speak with your family, or sit alone in silence. Every moment offers a window into truth if you are receptive. The problem is not the absence of sacredness in daily life. The problem is the absence of attention. When your attention becomes steady, the ordinary reveals its extraordinary nature. If you notice this even once, you may choose to describe how presence transforms simple moments. Your words might help someone recognize the sacred in their own routine. As this clarity matures, a new kind of responsibility arises within you. Not the burdened responsibility imposed by society, but a natural responsiveness to life. You move from reacting to responding. When situations arise, you act not from fear or desire, but from a deep understanding of what the moment requires. This responsiveness is the essence of intelligence. It aligns your actions with the rhythm of life, allowing you to navigate challenges with grace. When you respond rather than react, even difficult circumstances lose their heaviness. If this resonates with you, you might share one instance when clarity guided your response, illuminating how awareness shifts behavior. The awakened soul sees that freedom is not the absence of boundaries, but the ability to move consciously within them. Life has its natural constraints: time, physicality, mortality. But within these constraints lies immense possibility. When you stop fighting the fact of your existence, you begin to explore it fully. When you stop resisting the nature of reality, you become aligned with it. This alignment brings immense peace, because you no longer demand that life conform to your expectations. Instead, you attune yourself to the pulse of existence. If this understanding stirs something within you, allowing it to unfold may deepen your sense of harmony with life. Soon, you begin to notice that awakening is not a singular event, but an ongoing blossoming. Just as a flower opens petal by petal, your awareness unfolds layer by layer. Every new layer brings a deeper intimacy with life. You see more clearly, feel more deeply, and act more consciously. You begin to sense that life is not happening around you. It is happening through you and as you. When this realization settles within you, even momentarily, it dissolves the illusion of separation. The boundaries between self and other, inner and outer, sacred and mundane, grow faint, replaced by a continuous field of experience. If you wish, sharing how this sense of unity touches your life can help reinforce the depth of this recognition. In this state, gratitude becomes your natural posture. You are grateful not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer overlook the miracle of simply being here. Gratitude is not an emotion, it is a form of intelligence. It brings you into profound alignment with life. When gratitude permeates your perception, every breath becomes a blessing, every encounter becomes an opportunity, and every moment becomes alive with possibility. If you feel even a small rise of gratitude as you listen, acknowledging it may deepen its presence within you. As your awakening matures, you begin to see that the soul does not need to be awakened, it is ever awake. What needs awakening is your perception. The soul is the silent witness, the still center, the luminous space from which all experience arises. It does not sleep, it does not suffer, it does not struggle, it simply is. When you shift your identity from the changing surface of life to this unchanging depth, an extraordinary peace becomes possible. Not the peace of escape, but the peace of intimacy with existence. This peace does not depend on circumstances. It is your natural state when the noise of unconsciousness subsides. Ultimately, the true awakening happens when you stop searching for awakening. When you no longer chase some future state, you begin to experience the immediacy of being. Life reveals itself fully only to the one who stops trying to grasp it. In this surrender, a profound clarity emerges. You see that nothing was missing, nothing needed to be added. The eyes of your soul were always open. You simply had to stop looking through the lens of illusion. In the final stretch of this journey, you begin to recognize that awakening is not something you acquire, but something you uncover. It is the gentle peeling away of everything that is not you. The fears you once clung to, the stories you repeated, the identities you defended, all of them fall away like old garments that no longer fit the being you have become. In their absence, an immense simplicity emerges. This simplicity is not dull or empty. It is vibrant, alive, and profoundly intelligent. When you taste this simplicity, even briefly, it feels like coming home after wandering for lifetimes. If such a moment has ever touched you, acknowledging it can deepen your experience of that inner homecoming. As this inner home becomes more established, you no longer seek fulfillment from the outside world, not because the world has nothing to offer, but because you have discovered the deeper well within yourself. When your sense of wholeness is self-sustained, your engagement with life becomes an expression of joy rather than a pursuit of it. You give not to fill a void, but to share an overflow. This is the natural fragrance of an awakened soul. It cannot be forced, and it cannot be imitated. It arises effortlessly when you stop resisting your own nature. If you feel even a hint of this inner fullness, let it expand quietly within you. At this point, you also begin to see that awakening is not about escaping the human experience, but embracing it fully. You still feel emotions, but they no longer dominate you. You still encounter challenges, but they no longer define you. You still walk through the world, but you do so with eyes that see beyond the surface. Life continues with all its textures, yet there is a silent foundation within you that remains untouched. This inner stillness becomes your anchor, your guide, your deepest refuge. It allows you to move through the shifting tides of existence with grace and clarity. If this stillness has begun to whisper within you, you may reflect on how it shapes your daily experience, as your words could illuminate the path for someone else. Eventually, the distinction between awakening and living dissolves. What once felt like a spiritual pursuit becomes the natural expression of your being. You no longer walk toward awakening, you walk as awakening. Every breath becomes a reminder of your inherent connection with existence. Every moment becomes a mirror that reflects your own depth. There is nowhere to go, nothing to attain, nothing to fix. Life becomes a continuous unfolding, and you stand at the center of it, not as an observer separate from the world, but as an inseparable wave of the same vast ocean. And this is the essence of opening your eyes to life. To see clearly, to live consciously, and to allow your soul's natural radiance to illuminate every corner of your experience. Awakening is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning of true living. If any part of this resonates with you, your reflection may become a spark for someone else who is still searching for their own awakening.